thought you were recording.
Oh no. I was gonna try to introduce you real quick, but this is
Okay, go ahead.
no, this
Go
is
ahead and
dope.
do that, and we'll go back.
I was just thinking back to I think the first time I met you was in Tampa. Like I picked you up from the airport, and it was really trippy because I like kind of already knew who you were. Like I knew your name. I saw you on Spinners. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't even know what Spinners is.
It was like this documentary.
Oh shit, I know what Spinners is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what that is. I'm in
So
there.
you were like low key kind of a celebrity. At least to me when I picked you up, it was looking back on it, it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
But
I'm no celebrity.
just to recap where we were, you were describing the rise of Dijon. Or I guess
Oh yeah, in
we
the
can go
Spinner
into
style.
how you started and then how you got to your style eventually. 'Cause I know
Yeah,
that's like a something that you developed, not just something you show up with.
I know. But no, I don't think so. If you ask Justin, all right. So here's one of the things. If you ask Justin, and you got to remember, during my day, the head spin was not a thing. That was not something you did because you are looking after your money mate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
You're not trying to bust your face up, so you don't do head spins. But
right.
Justin can tell you a testament to the first day. I was windmilling and helicoptering when the windmill wasn't too much of a thing. It was kind of a thing, and I was trying to do head spins on repeat and getting it there. Justin, to tell you, Dijon's first night was like, okay, here's this sign. Let's see what you can do to it. And all of a sudden, I'm just like, Captain Blender, one handy, no handy, attempt to head spin.
That was
You know
quick.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Without any instruction. Justin will tell you, the first night I saw a sign, I saw them like spin it and do some like frilly stuff that I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. And then I was like, let me see that shit. He was like, well, just be careful. And I was like, oh, okay. It's not sharp. you
Yeah, it's padded, nice and soft.
know, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. And I went very hard. And I think literally that first year, that like not even the first year, maybe it was the second year. I don't remember what year it was exactly, but very, very shortly after that, like within months, I was a spin instructor. I know it's common now. It doesn't even seem like that big of a thing, but back then it was a big thing to become a spin instructor very fast because there weren't that many people teaching. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
yeah.
And then became a spin instructor, and then I ended up with like 160 sign spinners within a year that I was teaching how to spin sign. 160.
What city was that in? Was that in Vegas?
Yeah, within the first like year or two, we had the largest market, almost the most hours ever recorded. So like people started hitting those 1,000 hours. But the craziest thing is, still to this day, I ran more hours in one weekend than anyone has ever ran. Run 835 hours Saturday and Sunday alone.
Damn. Usually that's spread across a good week for at least for us in our market. Um, I wanted to comment on the edging and everything because it seems like that's more there. In your case, it's more there to protect the sign. Because I've heard a lot of people comment on how violent and how aggressive your style is. It's
No, that's not necessarily true now, because an unedged sign to now, the bottom edge of the sign that I spun today, it was credit cards. I will admit that. It was credit cards day.
That's the first time I ever heard that description. That's dope.
Because it's money, you're still making money, but credit cards to your hands aren't fun unless you're cashing in. But anyways, uh,
Is
so but I have calluses in my hands, yes, now, which help protect my hands. You know what I'm saying?
how do you
But at
feel
the
about
same,
gloves?
no, you can't feel it. For me, gloves is like if you're playing a first person shooter game and you have a weak set of headphones that have a shitty ass Bluetooth module and it picks up the Bluetooth from your phone, maybe like, what is it, like a half of a second late, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just that little bit of delay and you're playing a first person shooter and you think you're hearing footsteps, so you think you're like, you still have time to shoot, but really all of a sudden that dude pops up unexpected because you thought you were listening to his footsteps. And really, you didn't even hear his first shot pop off before it hit you. That's what gloves are like. Because you have them on and they touch your gloves first and not your hands. And now you're waiting on the reaction from the glove to penetrate to your hand. So, yeah, you may be protecting your hand, but you're not catching the sound. And it's different too, because if you're spinning it, and like turning it and flipping it, like if you're flipping it, it's sticking to the glove and trying to pull the glove off while you're flipping it, which is a weird sensation to have that it's like pulling the palm of the glove off and you have to have it very tightly strapped to your wrist. And if you're uh, like trying to spin it and you do a helicopter, it's going to stick too much and your spins are going to slow down and be way different. But if it's cold outside, it don't fucking matter. You're wearing gloves. But at the same time, I can say that I've spun in some of the coldest climates. And after I warm up and my body gets hot, I might be in a t shirt with no gloves, which is kind of weird to say. And people will be like, "No, you haven't spun in that shit with no gloves and a t shirt on, like blah, 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 this." And I'm like, "Nah, bro. I spun in fucking DC in New York, bro, when it's fucking 15 degrees outside. And I'm standing on a 6 foot mountain of snow, bro, on ice with boots on and jeans and a t shirt. You know what I'm saying? And like 3 pairs of socks and like shorts and all sorts of shit under my pants, sweating my ass. And, don't tell me I didn't have no t shirt on. Like you start shedding the underlayers and the top layers come off, and eventually by lunch you're trying to put clothes on so fast you don't even know what's going on. Because the second you stop, that cold is coming. You know
I've
what I'm
seen that a
saying?
lot, especially when you're snowboarding. I mean, it seems strange before, but after you do it, you kind of get it. I've seen people just snowboarding in t-shirts and shorts. You know what I mean? But like once you're moving, it's everything you described. I hear you when you say that it creates too much of a buffer between you and the sign and how it
Yeah.
affects your reaction time. I've always been uh adverse to the texture. I don't I don't like the grip that you miss with the glove. Like I don't feel like I have it. It dulls your
No.
sense. You know what I
But
mean? And you
then
can't really sense
if
where the
you don't
sign's
like
at.
the grip, you don't understand. I've gone through probably like 100 different types of gloves. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You say just gloves, and then all of a sudden you're not thinking about the right type of gloves. They got wide receiver gloves that have that vinyl tack on the bottom.
yeah. I've seen people endorse those. I've heard
So
football
those
gloves are
are
the shit.
real sticky, and they got the baseball gloves for sticking to the batting gloves,
Oh yeah, that
sticking to
makes
the
sense.
bat. Okay, so you can find some real sticky gloves, and then there's just fucking gardening gloves or whatever, tacky
Yeah, those weird ass.
cotton gloves. There's all sorts of gloves, you know what I'm saying? But like it just depends because really the garden glove with the wood bottom in the wintertime, if you can fit a soft glove underneath and you can get a strap around your wrist or a piece of tape, that's some tight shit.
Creative.
It sounds crazy, but keep your hands warm and still have some stick and have some space for some warm gloves on the inside.
Yeah, that's overcoming a lot of obstacles when it comes to that. The only thing that sucks is I don't know how you could cope with the opposite effect. You know what I mean? Like dealing with the cold is one thing, but then have you ever been so hot that like your your own palm sweat ruins all your effort?
Oh yeah,
I don't
bro. I
think there's too
started
much you can do
spinning,
about that.
bro. I spin in Florida. Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's not even your own sweat, it's just the air being wet.
Oh yeah, with sweat's dripping off your elbows and wrists and shit, and off your face, and you're raining, bro. Yeah, I know about that. I know all about that. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
spin carefully. You spin more precise, and you use pops instead of grips. And they rely on the slip and the flip. So you use little pushes with your elbow to get the sign to go up and do little flips. There's little techniques and like tricks that like help you deal with that. But at the same time, it's different if your hands are wet and your elbows are wet and it's windy.
That's what I'm talking about. Those elbows and those checks. I think those are the elements that made your style appear really aggressive. Not to mention that it doesn't even, how can I put this? Looks like you're manipulating the sign more than going with the flow. It's pretty trippy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Was,
I agree.
did
And
you,
you can hear it. You can hear it. It sounds
yeah.
you can hear when I spin a sign, whereas a lot of people it's very quiet. And when I spin a sign, I've had noise complaints outside and not from the drops because they can hear like pop, 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 pop,
Yeah.
like they're like, what the fuck is that? And I'm just like, the cops are like, can you keep it quiet? And I'm like, I'm going inside.
I would argue that's a, that's a good thing. Cause then if they don't see you, they can certainly hear you. And when you hear something, your first instinct is to look in that direction, right?
Yeah.
Um, was there anything you were doing before sign spinning that influenced your style a little bit or may have uh, played a role
Took
in your transition
martial
into
arts
sign
for a
spinning?
long time.
So
I
that's
took
probably where those
martial
elbows are coming from, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah. I took martial arts for a long time and it sounds crazy, but where those elbows and checks probably aren't from my martial arts background, if that makes any sense. Like when I was growing up, mom was a crackhead, my grandparents were alcoholics and degenerates. And at a young age, I developed quickly. So I think my grandparents told me by like the time I was 9 months, I was walking and out of a diaper. But there's nothing you could get me to do at 9 months to wear that. So I was probably trained at 9 months. So just, they're like, you didn't want that. You just didn't want a diaper. Like as a baby, you were just taking that shit off. You just didn't want a diaper. So they said I learned to walk and whatnot by 9 months. By 2 years old, I was like talking and disrespectful. Probably because my grandparents were alcoholics and degenerate. So they had to figure out some shit to do with me. So they enrolled me in Shaolin Kung Fu. Right. I took that from probably like 2 years old to like maybe 6 or 7 years old until I got into like kindergarten and first grade and started kicking kids' ass for touching. I just wasn't playing that shit because my grandparents beat my ass all the time. So I was like, you didn't raise me. You're not my blood. You don't get to throw hands. Like you don't get to touch me and laugh. Like that shit ain't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so then they took me out of Shaolin Kung Fu. But my best friend Marshall took Taekwondo from 6 years old all the way until he was like 17 or 16. And I had pads and like stayed with him all the time. We sparred like all the time. I remember having to spend weekends at his house and like staying at his house because like we got not into a fight, but we would like, fight in the backyard for fun. Like we'd fucking be on the trampoline drop kicking each other and shit. Like crazy shit. I was a ruffian, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for like my entire life, like he took Taekwondo, was a third degree black belt Taekwondo and went to the Marines. But like we would squab. We would have like brawls. This was Vegas. We'd go out to parks for like kids from different schools and go have like group fights. This was before the internet. And like it wasn't before the internet. It was before like Like before we could do this, and I could be like, hey,
Yeah.
watch this real
Yeah.
quick, instantly on my cell phone. You know what I'm saying? That
Damn.
wasn't a thing. You know what I mean?
Living that Jorge Masvidal life in Nevada instead of Florida.
Yeah. So we
That
would
Kimbo
squab all
Slice.
the time. Yeah. Not even for money. It was for fun. Like we were teenagers. We would show up at parking lots sometimes with kids had other kids in football teams that had beef and fucking squab. We would fucking go out and squab. It was kind of crazy when I think about it. Like we stomped his ass. But from that, from sparring with him all the time, Taekwondo is very different. And it's very angular, if that makes any sense, with like elbows and wrist strikes and like things like that, if that makes any sense. So I think that's
Yeah.
more so where that comes from in my fighting style than what I learned. But at the same time, when I won the competition, I was in. When I won the competition, I was in. What's it called? I was in Shoshu, which is circular and angular, and they consider that, I think, a form of kung fu, but it's very different. It's not as like artsy. It's not artsy at all as compared to like Shaolin, which is considered like a martial art, which is not necessarily like they have mixed martial arts that they use in the fighting and like Shaolin and shit like that, which is more so for show. It's like fancy.
Yeah. It's a little less practical, a little more showmanship. Yeah.
And so those elbows, in more Shoshu, it's more so grabs and things like they're gouging your eyes, they're grabbing your ears, they're trying to, because they know if you strike someone with your fist, I don't care what you say, it hurts. Like your hands, when you hit people, like you watch those bare knuckle boxing fights, every time they hit the corner, they're going to the corner to have their hands iced.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? In the
Hell
sock.
yeah. Yeah. I heard that bare knuckle boxing is actually safer concussively speaking, because you kind of pull a little bit when what's
Oh
that,
yeah.
it hurts you just as much.
Oh yeah. Indeed. Indeed. It's 100% what's going on because the glove is not there to protect your face. That glove is there to protect the other boxer, or not the other boxer, your hand. I'm sorry. It's not
Yeah.
there to protect the other boxer at all because that's still your face.
I would
You get what I'm
imagine that
saying?
you wouldn't be able to do 12 rounds if it wasn't for those gloves either.
No, that's untrue. Back in the day,
That
they
makes it easier.
definitely used to box 15 rounds for like 3 to 5 minute rounds.
Didn't they have gloves though? Wasn't that with gloves?
No, I'm talking way back in the day, bro. They were boxing
Oh,
15 minute five or 15 rounds, 5 minutes.
you're talking like back in the day when fools used to fight like this. Wait, here we
Yeah,
go. There we go.
exactly,
Yeah, that's my
exactly.
face-off photo now.
All
Hmm,
right, so
there we go.
here's this. That boxing style is all based on saving your hands. Okay, so think about it. If you box someone like that with your hand and wrist in the position they are, you're not loading up your kinetic chain. Does that make sense? You're
Yeah,
not stacking your bones on top of each other when you strike. You're literally dusting people with your knuckles. Does that make sense?
yeah,
You're love tapping. You're sending your hand out quickly with your knuckle to strike them for that brief moment. Does that make sense? To cause a lump or an egg or to swell their eye, to close it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. You're not trying
To
to punch brain. You're
Yeah.
trying to punch
You
face.
may get a very good concussion and you may actually be able to knock someone out. Still using that method, just because knocking someone out doesn't depend 100% on power and strength. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time, the knockout blow comes from the one that's not expected or you didn't see coming, or the quick short combination. Does that make sense?
Yep.
If anyone tells you, if anyone says it best, like Mike Tyson, he says it's not that really big one that telegraph. It's that bow 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 that knocks you out. It's that once you that real quick with the last hit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's often a counterpunch too that gets you.
Yeah. And speaking of the bare knuckle boxing, that's what they were going for. It was real quick and real dodgy and real fast. If that makes any sense. And that's
Hmm.
why a lot of times those old school, real fancy bare knuckle boxers that had their hands out had very large biceps because the retraction of the hand was very important. Nowadays, the boxers have very large triceps, shoulders, because it's more so the delivery of the punch, right?
Yep. Big old back and chest too to supply that extra rotational torque. You know what I mean? I feel that with helicopters too. It always reminds me of like throwing it.
It's not so much the chest because the chest, when you use a lot of your chest when you're throwing a strike, you're using a lot of elastic recoil, and then you're diving into the martial arts range. It's because your chest muscle, right? If you're here, it's tight and you move around. But if you notice, there's a whole lot less contraction. The moment I pull my chest back, or I'm back here, like I would strike from a martial arts range, then I'm having a lot more elastic recoil, like a picture. And that's where they say Conor McGregor's power comes in because it's real fast and his hand is really far back, his left hand before he strikes, right? But if you
Hmm.
notice in the boxing match, he wasn't able to get that off because the boxers pull in the short range, and not the short range, but like the more distance, the shorter. If you go to box a boxer and your hand has to travel a longer range, the shorter range that the boxer is used to fighting, he's going to tag you before you can let that off.
Yeah. Speaking
Does
of
that make sense?
Dustin, yeah, I'm glad you brought up the McGregor Mayweather boxing match because I didn't want to call it a fight just in case people got it confused. But yeah, the boxing match. Um, when you were talking about how they would pull a little bit, like just to punch on the surface, I saw an example of that when McGregor just barely tapped Mayweather's nose. I think I think that was a good case for that. Um,
Yeah.
do you think a sign spinner would benefit from sign spinning experience in a fight? Because most fights, I mean, if it's like a UFC match, for example, at the longest, you'll be doing 25 minutes worth of fighting. Do you think a sign spinner has a chance in regards to stamina after spinning, 5 hours on a regular basis? Because that means a shift lasts way longer than a fight. Do
It
sign
just
spinners have
depends.
a chance?
It just depends on the sign spinner and the heart rate of the sign spinner while he's spinning, if you're looking at it from that aspect. Because when you're sign spinning, or not necessarily sign spinning, when you're doing long, intensive cardio and you're traveling over long distances, I think there's something called like it's like a, oh, what is it? VPS or like a VPNS or like, it's some neurological chemical that I don't even know the acronym for, and the word is very long, that long distance runners and people who do triathlons and things like that develop because eventually after some point of running those long distances your body becomes very oxygen deprived, and
Hmm.
from the oxygen deprivation that's in your body, right, your uh your body's brain eventually tells you to stop or to shut down, basically equaling a knockout or pass out, faint, whatever you want to look at it. But because you're doing these long distance things, your body is beginning to develop a higher amount of this chemical or nerve development or nerve. It's a nerve recovery like enzyme basically or protein. It's something that your body develops. It's a chemical that helps redevelop brain cells in your brain as they diminish or die. So basically, what happens is, let's say you're running and you become oxygen deprived. Those brain cells are going to begin to die at an extremely high rate, and as a response to protect yourself, your brain is going to tell you to shut down, stop running, lay down, faint. It's going to tell you to do a lot of things. It's going to increase your heart rate. It's going to do a bunch of stuff, right? That
Yeah.
basically say stop. right? If you have a higher amount of this chemical or protein or whatever it actually is that goes into your body when you're used to doing this, you're less likely to stop. But instead, you're just going to burn more brain cells, right? You have millions of brain cells to burn. You have millions of brain cells that are dormant. So at the speed that you're burning these brain cells, these chemicals are trying to recover and rebuild new brain cells, not necessarily the ones that are dying. Because you and I know dead brain cells are dead brain cells. They're wasted, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't grow new ones. There are new ones recovered, right? So if you have a large amount of these in your body from doing these long distance things and whatnot, traveling, when you get hit, you respond more so as the Nate Diaz brothers do, where their eyes roll in the back of their head for a quick second, but as soon as their hand touches their canvas, they're standing back up. They're never going all the way down. And that's what a lot of UFC, what's it called? Referees or whatnot are not used to seeing or judging because they want to make sure the fight is finished, if that makes any sense. So they don't acknowledge necessarily those standing knockouts, but they see someone's eyes roll in the back of their head. Because of the intense training, they know that dude's going to recover instantly. And the loss of brain cells that happen then, that may have been a normal concussion for a regular person, they may be able to stand better. That's not saying they didn't receive a concussion, because they probably most definitely did. But the effects of that concussion are not going to be the same necessarily as someone that didn't have that long cardio training. Do you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Sign spinning, yes, could, but it also depends on the sign spinner and how hard they push themselves during a shift and where their heart rate is.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Totally. I have you ever experienced like a runner's high during your shift
Oh
where you're
yeah,
just like dying and then
bro.
like the last hour out of nowhere it just kicks in?
No, it's not even that. I'm talking like a real runner's high where you hit your lunch break and you go to look down at your hands and they look 3 times bigger than what they should be.
Whoa.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
borderline heat stroke, 115, 118 degrees outside.
Oh no, that's a all right, that's a different kind of hallucination. I don't know if that's a runner's high.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Spending 8-hour shifts, having your body cramp, hands and wrists and elbows cramp, looking all contorted like what's going on because your body's trying to quit and give up, but you're using your chest and pockets and anything you can snag your fingers on to open up your hand to catch the sound before it hits you in your head. So you're used to dodging things coming at your face quite frequently while in bad positions. So yeah, like I think science definitely could uh could definitely help you in boxing and fighting for sure.
Especially when tricks are going wrong and like you said, you're trying to protect your face. Your reflexes have to be on point too. That's something else I was always kind of wondering.
Yeah.
Like, do science spinner reflexes translate well to missing a punch?
Catching a hand before it reaches your face, putting your palm out. Because you got to think about it, and that's one of the differences too. A boxer a lot of times doesn't try to leave the stance. They always talk about it when they say they're putting their hands down. They must be tired because you're supposed to have your hands up to guard yourself. You get what I'm saying? You have your
Yeah.
hands up to guard yourself, not only to cover up, but to parry. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of different boxing techniques and methods, and some methods they don't believe in the parry.
I learned a lot about the power of feinting in a couple recent fights.
Oh yeah.
One in particular was Rose against Wei Li. She faked her first kick before throwing up the second one, which offset Wei Li's timing and also put her hands in a
Brought
different
her chin
position.
down. Put her hands and chin down, didn't it? I bet.
Yeah. Well, the fake caused her to open up real quick, and I assume she was trying to set up for a counter, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I know there's a bunch of people that that look up to spinners like you. Were there any spinners in particular that were your senior at the time? Because I know you came in during a time when everything was just kind of starting out.
No, but there was still a ton. There, back when I started spinning, it was like Justin, Mike, Max. I started spinning with Doolin. Doolin was fucking badass. Still to this day, still badass. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Rami, I think, was there. Old school for a long time. Randy Jinx was there. Fucking Jeff Genero. Fucking just all the old heads. All the old people were the people that I looked up to that taught me how to spin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Um,
yeah, mostly Justin. Justin was my main mentor. That's why I was always so good. Justin.
has your playlist changed at all from the day you hired into to now? You still
It
listen to the
changes
same music on the
every
corner?
day. You know, it changes every day. If I put it on repeat, I listen to old stuff and new stuff, but it changes every day. It just gets bigger. There's all sorts of stuff. There's this like dude who is a rapper now that it's like very what is it? Controversial or whatever. Named Tom McDonald.
Mm,
Who's like kind of trash, but like yeah, some songs that are like sometimes not so bad. Like Bad News. Have you heard Bad News?
nah. I
Tom
think that's the first time
McDonald.
I heard his name too. It's probably not, but I'm drawing a blank on his face.
Yeah, no, his face is terrible. Tattoos and white braided quad pigtails in the top of his head. It's terrible. And like funny teeth, like just
I
terrible.
hear you. So dude's
But
got like
then
a face
there's
for radio.
yeah, and then there's what is it, Trace Verdes or whatever? Yeah, okay. That song's been on my playlist. But then there's like I still listen to Cottonmouth Kings and like all sorts of stuff. I don't know. It's changed. There's all these new artists and whatnot. I give them all a chance. I try to listen to all sorts of new stuff all the time, like every day. Because I have Pandora, so I go and check out like new radio and like all this other stuff. So like no, it just varies. Like I think music is different for everyone. Like I'm one of those people that's able to listen to songs all the time on a frequent basis and get goosebumps. Like one of the things that I think I noticed that I'd probably be able to do, which sounds really weird, is be one of those people that works in like a music company or whatnot that's able to listen to music to tell you immediately whether that person's voice is able to sell records. Because upon listening to a new artist or a new singer or a new rapper or someone that's putting out someone new, if they don't have, let's say, something that catches, I won't get goosebumps. Does that make sense? They
Yeah.
don't have that voice. Like I literally have visual goosebumps during certain like music. Like there's a new show that my girlfriend's watching, and a lot of the people that are on there that are aspiring rappers are trash. But every now and then, I can barely be listening, and all of a sudden I get goosebumps, and I'll notice, and I'll be like, "They're good." Like who are they? They're good. They're gonna be. And I can guarantee you that the people that I pick out are the same ones that make it through. Now, that's not to say that's not that might be their only performance or their only thing that's good, because that may be it. Some people they have one shot, and that's it. They shoot it and they strikes, but they never shot. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Um, was there ever a moment that like where you analyzed yourself with the with that same set of glasses in terms of science spinning and realized like, damn, I'm the shit.
I don't know. For a while, I think after I won, I knew I was tired. But I think before I won, like I think I knew I was gonna win because when I went to the competition, it wasn't like I went there just as a sign spinner, just to spin songs and show them my tricks. I went there to win. Like I was probably 20 or 30 pounds heavier than I'd ever been. I was solid muscle. I was running long distances. I like when I went to spin to win the competition, it was a new style. It's like you said, no one had that aggro, that real elbow checky, super aggressive style. And I was strong. I was a lot stronger. My shoulders were bigger. Like it wasn't just that I went there to like I was in like I think at that age when I won that science swim champion, I was in that age that if I was doing anything physical where I wanted to like win or defeat someone, or it was based on a challenge outside, like I weighed I don't even know what I weighed. I probably weighed 175 pounds when I won, maybe 170 pounds, and I could curl 45 pounds with one hand 40, 50 times in a row. Like I was getting
Damn.
set to like 30. I was strong. I was strong. I was long. I was doing 8-hour shifts. You know what I mean? Like I was rollerblading fucking 3, 4 hours at a time. Like when I wasn't doing 8-hour shifts, like I was like I had like resistance band training. I was working out. I was like, if you see the video or the picture of me sitting on everyone's shoulders with my arms above my head, I'm not flexing. My arms are big, and I'm little, and I'm not. And I'm when I say they're big, I don't mean like I'm huge, like super huge. I'm still only like maybe 170 pounds and 5'10", but like I could spend the time to shoot things. That was like one of the things that I was practicing doing. The sign out of the air with 2 fingers, any 2 fingers out of my hand. Yeah, I mean, being able to throw it, flip it with 2 fingers. Like I was strong. I was real strong. And that's like what I was doing. I was training to do that. I was training to win. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
What year was that? I
It
can't
was like
remember.
'07, '08. I think it was like '07, '08, where I was dubbed the best sign spinner of '07 and '08 because it's the year afterwards that you have the competition.
Damn.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have it
So
at
it's
the
probably a different
beginning of
time of
the
the
year.
year. Yeah. Well, now
Yeah.
it's like at the beginning of the year. So
No, still at the beginning of the year
yeah,
then, I think, too.
you get the whole like 11 months to brag about it. Even like maybe a
Yeah.
month into the next year, you know?
Yeah.
You didn't, one of the things that man, all right. So this is, I could be wrong, but your upright game is really, really strong. I haven't seen too many inverts from you, if at all. And
No, I don't have that much because I don't catch the sign between my legs. I do have an inverted sword slash that's pretty nasty. But as far as like, the sign's not going between my legs for me to catch nothing upside down. Just, you know, I
yeah,
don't have any, like, no, like, I don't have any urge to catch the sign between my legs upside down or to like put my genital area compromised position while
yeah.
trying to do. I can just about 110% guarantee part of the reason why Dylan won the competition the year that he did is because he ate that. He ate that and said, "Give me some more." Do you get what I'm saying? Like it went
Yeah.
there where it's not supposed to go, very deep and hard,
Like they were
while
insured or something,
upside
dog.
down. Yeah, while they were there, and he was like, "You're gonna give me that money, right?" Like
Yeah.
they still worked. I still made another one afterwards. I had to prove to everyone you can catch things with your groin and still make little ones. But he did that.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure I could see his face while I was watching. I was a judge. It was the only thing I was
Yeah,
watching, where
that's
that sign was
right.
going and what it was touching. And I'm sure I know it touched, you know, all three of the little biscuits over there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's not 100% why he won, but like when you just catch it and you're upside down, you're like, oh, I'm not whatever. It's there. It's already happened. I've caught it. Like, look, I'm upside down. What? Signs on my balls. Signs on my balls. I'm looking off because I'm thinking about it. Like, yeah, he did that. I remember all of us were like, oh yeah, and then he did it again, and it was just like, okay, like, well done, and it was nasty. I think he caught like a fucking skill saw to the nuts. It wasn't even
Damn.
like it was. You can't even call it a scissor catch. It was a scissor catch, but it's more like straight to the balls.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a different catch altogether. We'll call that the he. For
Yeah.
like, you got the fire hydrant catch, you got the scissor takedown, and then the boomerang to
Yeah.
he.
Were you there? Were you there? Do you remember that?
That year, the 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah,
straight to the woo.
yeah. I didn't notice how deep it went.
No, it was like he was upside down looking at us, and he like stood up with it, and it bounced and caught him again, and he like nodded his head like, yeah, smile, sign spinner, watch, give me another.
Yeah, that's commitment. You deserve to win after that.
But yeah, I don't do that. But at the same time, I think that was the year Toast took second place, and he didn't go upside down at all.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I'm bringing it up, man. Because there was like 3 spinners I
And
really
that's
looked
like,
up to for their
and
upright
that's like
game.
my, yeah. Nah, my tech shit, that's cool. You can do cool shit. It looks fancy with your hands. You're touching the ground. You caught some shit with your nuts. Now, what's really important, is what did you do before you caught that trick with your nuts? Like, what trick
Yes.
was it that
What
made
leads
it
up
to
to it?
your nuts?
And how did you get into it too? I think those are the most
Yes.
important variables and factors when it comes to going upside down. Because if you can go upside down, you can go upside down. But
Yeah.
it's just how do you get into it and how do you get out of it? And what happened in between those moments that really makes a
Yeah.
difference. That shit's
And
tight.
that's what like I'll do sword slash, inverted sword slash, but like there's a difference. Like you don't let it touch the ground. Like your body spins a little bit while you're upside down, and then it's really tight. But if you just like sword slash and kind of like jump over it or whatever, like a little bit, like no, you need to have your feet up. But like at the same time, like I'm not catching that shit with my legs upside down. That's like the whole inverted game. Like no, like that, like I don't know. I could probably do. No, I take it back. I got some inverted moves before Raph or any of them ever did it. Part of the reason why they get judged so highly, and Kadeem Grant or Johnson, I get them mixed up as far as like when they were competing. I forget which one of them told me like, "Oh, you want to see this?" And they went to do a basketball toss, backflip catch, right? And I don't think they landed it. Or if they did landed it, they landed it and fell on their butt
I
at the
think that
same
was
time.
Johnson. I'm pretty sure that was
Yes.
Johnson.
So he told me that's not a big deal. It's something that's fairly easy to do, and he was going to do it. But then when he tried it, he realized that you go blind. And the only reason why I know this is because I've done that trick maybe 3 times in my entire life. Basketball toss, no handed backflip catch. As soon
Yeah.
as you do that no handing, when you go back forward, you're like, where's the sign? And
Yes.
you got to find it, or it has to come back to you. And oh, and you're not in the same either stepping backwards, stepping forward to brace yourself to catch the sign, or to relieve the momentum, to bring it into you. You get what I'm saying? And that's why he
100%.
fell. And that's why he fell back into his truck. With who was it? Was it Raphael or Jose? The one that was doing that shit on repeat, nasty, and they were like, he's not even sign spinning. I'm like, that's fucking sign spinning. Basketball toss, backflip catch. You want to tell me that's not fucking one of the hardest tricks in the world to do?
Yeah, it's a
Like,
high
sure,
risk
you guys are,
maneuver.
yeah, sure, you guys are catching shit with your nuts, but you're not. Like, we don't talk about inverted. Like, I've done that. I've done that. That's not easy. And
Yeah.
then to say it's not sign spinning, to front flip with the edge on the sign, like people say like, oh, I do that in practice. You're just tumbling over the sign. That fool was full force slapping that edge to the ground. You get
Yep.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember this being
There's
a point of controversy at the time.
no,
Everybody was like, he spent
no.
more time upside down than actually spinning. But realistically,
Yeah,
it's everything
I
that he was
understand
doing
that.
with it too that counted
Yes,
to me.
yes, exactly.
Um,
Exactly. And one of the nailers is one of the nailers because people always say about like trick filler and content. Like some of these people have done really well, and won, but it was like they didn't have any filler. They just had like a whole lot of hype game, and then not a lot of tricks and just a couple bangers.
yeah,
You get what I'm saying?
there was no flow, there was no continuity between them. It was just like three compartmentalized and segmented bangers,
Yeah.
and or maybe
Right.
four, whatever they got time for. So
Yeah.
I've seen that
Exactly.
kind of round too. Um,
And so when you put that together, you put high risk maneuvers together, bangers, multiple inverts, right? And extreme fucking skill with the sign and coordination. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
when he won, it wasn't just because he could do whatever he could do physically upside down or whatever with all those flips. It's because he could do all that with the sign. He demonstrated it could be done with the sign, and that really was like the next level of the game. And everyone failed to kind of realize it, but that's where it is. Like to be able to like front flip skill saw, like front misty flip skill saw catch, or some shit he probably could have came out with between his legs or whatever, or even catching it again in the air. Like they don't like they don't realize that's where it really was. Like don't get me wrong, like the Matt Doolan shit has way too many crazy super technical bangers, right?
the
And the super
transitions
tech
too, man.
and the transitions
Oof.
and the tech. But if you were to have a fucking weird male child between Wrath and Matt Doolan, whew, whew,
Yeah. Doolin's real technical, but the one thing I really like about both the style of both of the Angeles brothers, I mean, it's probably because they influence each other, but the the abstract lines that they take, that's what really sells me on their routines. Um,
yeah,
the creative, oh man, I just wonder what their creative process is like to come up with things like that. Um, you Mark Montiano and Toast were like three people I really looked up to for upright game and toss control too. Um, it's
yeah.
it's extraordinary. And I think it's often overlooked how
You know what
hard
I
it is
call
to
it?
be blind.
You know what I call it?
Huh.
It's like playing pool with the sign. You got to put English on it so it comes back to you. Once you understand the English or the rotation or the push force or whatever you want to call it, you can figure out different ways to throw it and make it flip and use that English or rotation to come back to you.
Hmm. So
You know what
are
I'm
you is
saying?
this a similar kind of spin for like
Like
uh
the Singapore sling.
oh okay. I see where you're connecting these
All
things
right.
now.
Or a
Yeah.
basketball toss. A basketball toss, you have to have the same English on it, right?
It's called English. I always thought, man, yeah, this is insightful. I
You
always
can
like thought it'd be called like
think about
backspin or something,
it.
or like
I call it
topspin.
English because that's what they call it on a pool table. When you hit the bottom of
Yeah,
that ball and you get it to go outwards and then spin back to you, that's called putting English on the
I
ball.
always wanted a word for that. That's tight. That's a good term to borrow from pool. I think that English
Right?
is important when you're doing those blindside tricks, even if it's not a backflip. It could just be something as simple as a 360. When you come back, you
Oh,
have to
the
reorient
360
yourself.
burial.
You got to
Oh yeah,
trust
you
that
gotta
that
have
sign
enough
is going to be where you
English.
tossed
You
it.
have enough English on it to come back and not throw it out, and not just fucking have it float away from you.
Yeah, that's tight.
But anyways, on that note, I'm gonna have to float away from you because I get something in my tummy.
No
I
doubt.
go to the grocery store.
I'm
All
feeling that
right,
too. That's a good course of action after this.
all right. Well, it's
Well,
nice chatting it up. I hope
yeah, man.
people find
Thanks.
this entertaining. I'm down to do it again. Just let me know.
Totally. Thanks for
All
doing
right.
this, man. Really appreciate it.
We'll go back to the loading screen. Oh, damn, change it up. Yeah. Pond filter needs to be cleaned. Happens tomorrow. They just got fed too, so it's a little dirty. But then with some big koi, just to give you a perspective, that pond's over 2 feet deep.
Oh wow, that
And
fish
then
is a
when he
nice
gets that big,
handful.
oh no, he's way more than a nice handful. That feels way bigger than my hand. Let me stick my hand in the water so you get an idea. Come here, bro. Come here, bro. He's like, nah, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. Oh, touchy. Touchy, touchy.
Oh, that's cool.
Touchy.
I've never seen a fish be so shy.
Anyways, take it
Yeah,
easy,
man.
bro.
It's been real. I'll catch you later.